Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, 80 Drew, Wilton Jackson II. We even have a special guest with a special report. We'll unveil that when he jumps on the stage, if you would, front and center, at least for this first segment, I should say. And then we're going to allow him and AD to really get into what they do well as the other professors, to talk about the mid-major division. With that being said, let me say welcome to episode 717 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios. As you can see, actually, I'm in the hotel. I'm in Washington, D.C., down here for a AERA Dean Summit. And then tomorrow, I'll close out with a HBCU R1, R2 Deans meeting from HBCUs. Today, we got out early, so I had a chance to go by the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Great opportunity there in terms of what took place. So glad I was able to make time to do that. But with that being said, we are sending a signal live KSWH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Houston, Texas, with Texas Southern University. With that being said, let's bring everybody on board as we do that. Of the episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THT Agency. THT Agency is a company that provides sporting education consulting and data analytics. Sounds like there may be some folks that could use our service on the consulting side. But without further ado, you see none other than Steve J. Gaither, as he likes to be called, of HBCU Game Day, founder, that brought that magnificent entity to us. Stephen Gaither, I heard that you have specific breaking news. It seems like you break quite a things all the time, but there's something that we need to talk about relatively serious. With everything going on, it's just a small component of that, but it certainly affects us that are part of that sporting HBCU diaspora, as I like to say. With that being said, without further ado, what news do you have to share?
Well, first off, Doc, thanks for having me on. I definitely appreciate it. I don't know how many people are going to have me on after this week. They say I kind of been setting things on fire, but it is what it is. The Florida A&M Mississippi Valley State game that was scheduled and highly talked about to be played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Not only is it not being played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, as we reported yesterday prior to the confirmation from the schools, but it also is not being played in Atlanta, and it's not being played this weekend. Literally the worst case scenario that you could have for a situation like this. It was announced today between the two schools, Mississippi Valley State and Florida A&M, as well as the SWAC, that, again, the news that we reported yesterday, that not only the game wouldn't be happening at Mercedes-Benz, but again, won't be happening at all. This is something that, we broke it officially yesterday, right around 5 p.m. But you've been hearing whispers for months, folks on the inside that, there was it's questionable as how this was going to be able to be pulled off. Contrary to popular belief, I don't report everything that I hear as soon as I hear it. I take the time and vet it and things like that. And so, heard, back in the summer that, there may be some unsettling, history with promoters or what have you. And unfortunately, we got into August, and big member of our team, Vaughn Wilson, you can see him on the back. I was watching the podcast that we did earlier today with Wilton. Yep. Got to give you more than one place at one time. So breaking the time space continuum. But he started asking questions from over on that end. FAMU directed him over to Mississippi Valley State. And of course, we reached out to the proper authorities. But again, this is, the promoters reached out to us after our report came out, and, without wanting their names up there, kind of let us know that, this was going to happen, and assured us this. And also, that, it's just a whole interesting how that developed. Anyway, that was in August, less than 2 months before. Tickets did eventually go on to sale. But, it's just, you never really, being on the inside or hearing from people on the inside, you never really felt that it was settled as much as people wanted to sell that. And unfortunately, this, was the worst case scenario that we heard that, was going to happen yesterday. And of course, has been confirmed today. So so many things that go on, so many moving pieces, this stuff, so many hands in the fire. Unfortunately, so many people are impacted by this. Even Tali and Mo Carter, who were going to call the game, not only just the players and the coaches and the administrators, but people like that, people who had already, made travel plans. So many people are impacted by this. And it's just really unfortunate. Sometimes, I talked about this earlier today. I've heard, from veteran folks in the HBCU media space that, about these classics that were supposed to happen and never happened. But, because of the way we communicated and word traveled then, sometimes this would only be known within pockets of it. And now I've got a chance to see it firsthand, and there was also a connection to the Tampa Classic that popped up and then didn't happen as well. So much to talk about here, but just really unfortunate for, again, everybody who was impacted. And the worst case scenario here, I would say.
Yeah, unfortunate in a lot of ways, but it's something that we need to certainly talk about and understand just how we can support and do better business practices and supporting folks, because I'm sure that the promoters really had good intentions. Certainly the ADs of the institutions, presidents had significant intentions in terms of why this would be a great opportunity. But there's some things that need to be helped. I just want to understand why Wilton Jackson II gets the prime time vision in the back while you're breaking the news. I got to figure this out. My money ain't right. I ain't paying him right. But I also want to shout out Emmett Jones in terms of his comments, and he's right. I made sure that I made it by there because we have some tomfoolery talking about specifically African American Museum and what they should discuss. It's an amazing place for those that hadn't had a chance to visit it. Certainly need to find time to put it on your schedule. A lot of significant things are in there and just brings back some memories, brings back some things that we were taught in the house, some things that we read, and enlightens you on some things that you probably didn't realize. But with that being said, back to the sports talk, I wanted to give you all a chance to kind of ask Stephen some questions and then probably get a final thought from Mike in regards just from the business side of this, because he really has a way of thinking about that from a strategy business perspective. Charles?
Yeah, Stephen, I want to ask this question in terms of has thought been given to? I'm sure there were people who pre-purchased tickets, individuals who purchased tickets beforehand based on Mercedes-Benz prices. What exactly happens with regards to that? Whereas you've purchased a ticket, I don't know, $150, $200 ticket, and now this game is not taking place in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. What exactly happens there?
Yeah, well, to my understanding, as someone who doesn't buy tickets very much, but they were actually, and the way the Mercedes-Benz did it, and this is according to our Vaughn Wilson, who obviously, has been on the ground there in Tallahassee and running phone calls as well as I have, that they went instead when they finally did go on sale, which I believe was in September, so really just a couple weeks ago, it was actually a pre-sale. And so, yeah, from what I understand, though, they should be able to get their money refunded back from there. It's done through Mercedes-Benz and I believe Ticketmaster. So you're going to be good on that. Now your hotel or your plane ticket, if you're, whatever. Now that's a whole different story, but they're not going to care about that. But yeah, so it's, there were safeguards put in place by Mercedes-Benz, because, from what I'm understanding, there was some trepidation there. There was some give and take. There were some deadlines that were supposed to be met. And, they gave them the time. They gave it to them. But, it's just at the end of the day, you think about the amount of time that passed before you even got to that pre-sale point. And, people will say this isn't the sexiest matchup, so,
Why you messing with Valley?
Yeah, but,
You talking about the rally?
Don't cue Mike.
Just stop.
Right now, fam.
It wasn't Mike. It wasn't Mike. It wasn't Mike this time. Go ahead, Wilson, with your follow-up question as we giving Steven a hard time breaking this news. Somebody needs to give him a hard time.
No, I was just basically saying, don't get Mike started right there because he got his classic. Is that Valley?
Drew, do you have a question?
Actually, first I want to tell Steve, I need you to follow up with Vaughn and see if the rumor is true that Fabio is changing their color of green to money green because of the contribution that they make to HBCU game day, because we're always giving you stories, whether by choice or whether not by choice, because how I go, it ain't my fault, but it's my problem. And FAMU happens to fall into that in this category. But I just want to make a comment. I think it's interesting when you sit back and look at this, fellas. The FAMU athletic director who, initially agreed to this, made the faux pas and released it early, is not there right now. Mm-hmm. And on the flip side, when everything started with this, the current athletic at Valley was not there when everything started. I wonder if that transition in leadership on both sides had a little bit to do with possibly the ball being dropped or things not being checked as thorough as possibly they could have. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying that is an excuse or it's not an excuse, but it's something to keep in mind. And I will throw this, and Steve already know this. There were conversations had with multiple institutions, multiple facilities in the Atlanta area. I will confirm that, but that's as far as I can go with that information.
Listen, before you answer that, let Charles ask his question, because Drew made more of a statement, which is important information. But I want Charles to ask his question so you can answer it.
And I guess I want to ask this question in terms of, and maybe it's a common sense question, but what are the vetting safeguards? Because we consistently hear about promoters and dropping the ball. It seems to be a theme that happens from year to year to year to year. What exactly are the vetting safeguards to keep this from sort of keep happening?
Yeah, loaded questions there. I would say that, just in talking to people, I would say that for sure, you talk about safeguards. There was an interview that was done with Kim Rashad at HBCU Sports, and he talked with Commissioner Jackie McWilliams Carpenter at the CIAA. She talked about, this type of thing and how, again, like we said, this isn't the first time that it's happened. I think given the stage that it was in Atlanta,
UAPB, Alabama A&M, like 2-3 years ago in my hometown of St. Louis.
Right. Giving it that visibility and that this is an NFL stadium and all those things and the excitement, there is a light that shine on there. But it's something that, again, conference commissioners can help with if they're asked. But, a lot of times the folks there, it's like, and there was also, like you said, the change in leadership. I think, let's be honest, Mississippi Valley State, this was their game. And when this went into the wheels were in motion, to my understanding, this was prior to the hiring of the current AD, Dr. Alicia Shields Gasson. And so prior to that, you had the interim athletic director, which is the basketball coach, a former basketball coach, and the president. They were kind of the folks who were spearheading this initiative. And so I think it's imperative that, again, and we talked about this with the HBCU for us or for US or whatever that, still figured out that the name, how to call it. But we talked about how, information or a brain share can kind of maybe mitigate some of these things. And so you would hope moving forward, again, when you're dealing with these outside promoters, again, which, as Dr. Cavil said, for the most part, you would like to think that they have excellent intentions, but the execution may or may not be there. And so it's imperative when folks come with you, there's something that sounds like it's too good to be true. And we've seen this before in non-athletic stuff, but I won't go there, Drew. When it sounds like it's too good to be true, it usually is. And, again, but even if it isn't, just having secondary folks who can say, hey, this person approached me about this. What do you know about them? But again, a lot of our institutions, unfortunately, because of the financial places that we find ourselves in, we are very apt for this type of thing, unfortunately, especially. And then when you have that vacuum of leadership. So many things that happened here that led us to where we are today. Here we are.
We need to look up the word escrow.
I'm a good point, Drew, and I'm gonna say something about that. I'm gonna let Mike have the last statement from a very business perspective, but I want to directly answer Charles' question. I think it's really difficult for safeguards because there's so many independent components of what goes through this. So you would say that one safeguard is to operate within classics for promoters that have had success, but that's very limited. Basically what you got, the State Fair Classic and the Southern Heritage Classic, and there are some promoters for some of the mid-major games, but for major divisions, those are essentially the two. So the next vetting is to look at when somebody comes up with you a new idea, they usually have it pretty much vetted within the contract. But even the contract has components that talk about being paid, 30 days out. Yeah. Some say that maybe 90 days out. But even if you get that first payment, what does it have to do with the stadium being rented? You assume that's going to happen, but I guess you could put that potentially in a contract that they can guarantee you that the stadium and somehow you see the paperwork. But, some of this is good faith efforts. And as Stephen Gaither talked about is, kind of vetting them, but there's only so much vetting you can do in regards to that. So as long as there's an interest to play in classics, there's going to associated with that. Okay. And then there's the backup plan, but still the backup plan doesn't alleviate the fact that it's not going to go up to the original plan. So there's only so much, to me, preparedness you can do with this once you decide to jump the shark and not play a game at home.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Before we go to break. Can we actually, with all these people that we have on all these campuses, can we not just own our own classics? instead of relying on the promoter, cut out the middleman some way, somehow. Or we have that middleman working directly for us, not us going to him and using him as a source and us funding his summer vacation home, where we vet and put that person, hire that person as like a operations manager, game manager, instead of a promoter, where two institutions actually own the Classic. Can we not get to that?
I think that's a good point. I think the challenge you have with that is you have to be prepared as an institution that you can invest in that. Mm-hmm. And most institutions, if you're truthful to it, they're not really prepared to be in the promotion business. We already have a challenge from fans in a lot of ways, questioning how much we put into our home game experience. Mm-hmm. If you're going to make it a Classic,
that's a different.
And taking that on the road, you're talking about much more investment you need to make in folks that have that expertise to be able to do that. So on one hand, I think it's a great idea, Drew. I just think that it's about the same question, though. It's about making an investment. And one of the reasons you do the Classic in the first place, because you're not necessarily investing in the sports in terms of how much you take home games and turn them into events outside of maybe homecoming. And so unless you're prepared to replicate that and put a lot more energy in what that looks like in terms of hiring folks with that expertise for outside facilities, I think that's a lot of work. Let me let Mike get this final word as we've extended this segment a little bit, but it's extremely important. And we'll take our first break and come back on the other side, get a little bit of the scores that took place last weekend, and then release our mid-major poll rankings, where I want to get Drew and certainly Stephen J. Gaither's thought in terms of what that looks like this week. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just want to say it wasn't me this time with Valley. I hope that was clearly made. It wasn't me. It wasn't Mike. So I guess I want to ask the question. We've talked about the execution and how we dropped the ball. But if this was a business, there's loss. There's compensation. There's stakeholder concern. There's remedies that have to be made. So it's kind of going to the what now situation. We've dropped the ball. So what now? How do we fix it? I mean, is there a way to recompense reputations? Is there any recovery? Is there anyone identified to do any kind of damage control, fix it going forward? And if this comes up again, what are we going to do? Are we going to do something different? Because from what you've seen, this is not a secret. It's happened before. So I guess I'm kind of going, what's happening now? What are the next stages? I don't know if you can share that with me. I don't know if you're hearing anything, but I'd like to know what's next.
Let's take this break and let's marinate on that. And I think we can come back and maybe think in another segment, what does that look like? But I think more than anything, people need to think about it. I think that's more of a question to ponder to the experts in the area about what it looks like to understand the significant questions you asked. Drew kind of touched on it a little bit. Stephen Gaither talked about it, and Charles had a similar question in terms of the remedies. Mm-hmm. But I think more importantly, from your expert opinion, in terms of the work that you literally do, in terms of environmental protection, is how do you make sure that you don't continue to make the same or similar mistakes? With that, let's take our first break, come back on the other side. Let's get back into some of the sporting talk. We got the experts here, gentlemen, so let's talk to the two mid-major gurus, as I like to call them, in regards to what we do on Tuesdays. We have some fans out there talking about the Golden Rams and Wildcats and Maroon Tigers, Golden Tigers, the Rams in general, Trojans. Let's see what they're doing this week, because there's some other teams that's kind of stealing some of that light and said they want some shine too. We'll be right back after this break. This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora. as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
Football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with the professors. We got the gentleman in the building. We get started here. We're gonna look at some of these scores for the mid-major games according to the top 7 as we get into it. This is last weekend's rankings. I do want to give a shout out to Big Ben, L. Cavil Sr. HBCU Football Award will be released at the end of the season. Big Ben played in 1925 to 1929 for the Wildcats. Of the SWAC, we consider him a mid-major program, no longer having football, but he was a fullback, as they talk about at that time, halfback. That was All-American. So we'll ask these gentlemen, particularly Steven and AD, maybe who they would provide some accolades of potential, as we like to talk about the helmet sticker. Back when he played, Steven and AD, they still had the leather helmets, Wilton, when he was playing football in 1925. Think about what that looked like. Mm-hmm. Anyway, these are the top 7 that unveiled last weekend. We'll see what they did this weekend. Number 7, Livingston Blue Bears got into the top 7. Virginia State Trojans stayed in the ranking. Albany State Golden Rams. Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls. Virginia Union Panthers. Everwater Tigers and Benedict Tigers snuck all the way in at number 1. We'll see if they were able to hold it this week. But before we release that in the third segment, let's look at these matchups. We had a top 10 matchup, gentlemen. That was number 1 versus number 9. That was Benedict Tigers against the Clark Atlanta Panthers. And Benedict Tigers like to say that they for real. Y'all can joke and say that they were number 1 or not. All they know is they put up 59 points. You said they couldn't score. They could have some defense. Well, they pretty much shut down the Panthers, but they decided to get in the scoring column as well. So the Tigers, in some ways, maybe they're saying they're for real. They are 4-0, 3-0. You take that to the bank so far. The Panthers fall to 2-3 and 1-1 as they struggle a little bit. Let's go to number 2. The Edgewater Tigers get a chance to bounce back. It was a narrow win, but at the end of the day, it goes in the win columns. They defeat Morehouse Maroon Tigers, keep the Morehouse Maroon Tigers winless at 0-4 and 0-2 in the conference race. The Tigers improved to 4-1 and 3-0 in the SIAC race. Now moving on to number 3. We go into CIAA territory with this game. That's the Virginia Union Panthers. They beat up on Shaw Bears. The Panthers improved to 3-0, 1-0 in terms of what's going on there. And Stephen may give us the updates because I'm still confused what they're doing in the CIAA race. So that's a whole other segment. But it's 59-7, 1-3, 1-1. Who knows what the is? I can tell you what their overall record. I'm guessing at the conference record. But again, we're trying here, folks. We can only give you.
I think they just scored another touchdown, Dr. Cavil.
Both of you. Well, yeah, both.
I agree with that. Let's go to number 4, which was the Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls. They bounced back in a big way, put up 69 points. Yeah, they almost got to that 70 mark. They defeat Bluefields, Big Blue, 69-13. The Golden Bulls improved to 4-1, 1-1, I believe, in the CIAA. As we said, we just had that conversation, so we'll leave that right there. CIAA is 1-3 in terms overall for the Big Blue, 0-1, I believe, in the conference mark. So as we continue to go down, we find our ways at number 5. That's the Golden Rams. They might be something you want to start looking at if you had ignored them. 3-1, 2-0. The only loss is to a major division game they played on the road. They put up 57 in a top 8 matchup in terms of what went on here. Let's move on down to number 6. Number 6 is the Trojans, Virginia State. They fall to Fayetteville State. Fayetteville State Broncos wake up 3-2, 1-1. 34 points there as the Trojans fall 34-14. The Trojans are 2-2 on the season, 0-1, I believe, in the CIAA. Last one is number 7. I told you, hey, roll with me here, gentlemen, roll with me. Winston-Salem State, number 7. They get a needed win over Bowie State, the Bulldogs, 28-21. The Rams improved to 3-2, 1-1, and the Bulldogs fall to 1-3 in terms of the conference race. They said it was 0-0, but I thought it was a conference game. Maybe it wasn't. Again, it is what it is. I'm not going to pick on Steven first because he's no telling what he's going to try to explain. So I'm going to give him a minute to kind of not to go too far left as he just did in the first segment, even though he just reports the news. It's not his fault. AD Drew, what are your thoughts in terms any of these scores? I'll ask it this way. Any of these scores stand out to you?
Actually, if you want to tell the score that stands out to me, it would have to be the score of the game that I was at, which would have been Edward Waters and Morehouse. When Morehouse with the lead at the 2-minute timeout in the fourth quarter, before they gave it up, and still had the opportunity to come back for the game time field goal or possibly the game winning touchdown, but the house caved in at the end. Couple penalties in the last couple of minutes. Gave it up on downs. Great effort by the guys, but if there was one score that stood out, that would be the one score that stood out because everything else was defense optional for all the other teams that was ranked, at least for their opponents. They played defense. The other teams didn't quite show up. I don't think I've seen a week like this with like level competition with so big of a scoring margin between the teams. You know, we see this when FBS and FCSs play or FCSs and D2s, but you rarely see this like level competition, especially in conference play. This many teams blowing people out like that on the same weekend.
Charles, you told us to look at Fayetteville State. Did that kind of wake you up a little bit? What direction you going? Even though he don't believe it yet. What are your thoughts?
That's the one that turned my head. I was not expecting that score, 34-14 with Fayetteville State and Virginia State. What was impressive, though, 7 sacks in that game for Fayetteville State. They limited Virginia State only 22 yards rushing. And we're talking about Virginia State team. They're the 3rd-ranked offensive team in the CIAA. So that stood out for me. I know when I saw that score, I had to dig into those stats to see what exactly happened in that game.
I'm still gonna make Steven wait a little bit. Wilton, what's going to stood out?
You know, we talked about we talked about that Benedict and Clark Atlanta game last week, and I was one to say, like, I didn't think it would be a blowout like this, although I knew Benedict was strong in terms of, on offense and on defense, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, and they absolutely dominated Clark Atlanta, and I didn't think it was going to be exactly like that. So when I saw that final score, I said, oh, Benedict really put the clamps on the Panthers at their place.
Yeah, that was the good part. The intriguing part, it was in Atlanta where that's become a challenging place to play. Mike, what score stood out to you? Then we'll come to you, Steve.
Steven looked like he ready to go, man.
Yeah, turn it up.
You could have just skipped me and gone to Steven. No, for me, I'm not sold on Fayetteville State. I don't know. I ain't seen none. I'm not sold on them. I'm not a D2 expert, but I ain't seen nothing that's selling the sauce for me.
Yeah.
I guess the Benedict, that doesn't surprise me, but the matter by which they won, they put, dang near 400, 500 yards up just like that. That surprised me, the matter of which they won. And then here's one. Don't get mad at me, AD. I still love you. My father-in-law's school, Fort Valley, that was in Tuskegee, right? He pulled out a win. That was in Tuskegee.
Mike, Tuskegee don't butter my bread anymore, so you can talk about them.
They just let me down, man.
Fort Valley went to Tuskegee and pulled out a win. I don't know. That kind of caught my attention as well.
Mike got a little excited. I asked Mike for one. Let's go ahead, Steve. Give you two now.
I was giving Steve time, man. He looked like he wanted more time.
As you guys like to say, there was a little bit of meat left on the bone for me. The Benedict one did surprise me. It shouldn't have after Tuskegee, but I am a believer now. The Tuskegee Fort Valley State game disappointed me. Drew, we gave y'all a game in Alabama. We just gave it away. And
what my bread butter that?
And now I'm like, okay, now I'm invested in Tuskegee. I said, hey, at least make me feel good about this loss. Nothing. Since after they stole one in Montgomery, and then they beat up on poor Central State, they just decided they're through. So so I'll go this one. I'm gonna go elsewhere in the CIAA. I'm gonna go to the second closest school to me. I'm gonna go to Livingstone College. That's the game that I went to. They played against Lincoln. Lincoln is buns, and you can interpret that however you want to, but they are not a good team. But I wanted to see if Livingstone would. Livingstone is a team. A lot of people, last year they were 6-4, but a lot of people still don't believe, and just because their history and everything like that. But hey, they are 2-0 in the CIAA. They are certified 2-0. They beat Bowie State and they beat Lincoln, and I wanted to see if they would beat Lincoln by a solid margin. And they were up 31-0. They went up 31-0. I don't know if you guys saw my video. There's a defensive tackle. He's 6'2". He's listed at 350. And but he's a big guy, and they set him up as the fullback. He dives in, and they go up 31-0. Just to let you know how good Lincoln's season isn't going. And I don't think anybody's having more fun right now than Livingstone College. I know for some reason, Drew, you seem like they like to be the butt of your joke, and I got some friends that are very upset about that in Salisbury. But so that was the one that stood out to me. They put B to A. There's a segment that we have on our show on Wednesday that's called B to A. Do your Googles, and there's going to be a lot of that this week.
Exactly. Let's keep it clean, but you all can look it up. Steven, I'm going to stay with you before we take this next break and unveil the top 7. Play along with me in Big Ben helmet sticker. Give me one player that you would give the helmet sticker to out of the CIAA this week. Drew, you start thinking out of yours for the SIAC.
I'm going to say it's a tie. I took the easy way out.
That's fine.
I'm going to give it to Dalen Lee at Winston-Salem State, 4 touchdowns in the win over. He's number 4 in the country, 14 touchdowns on the season. And then you got Curtis Allen over at Virginia Union, who is terrorizing the CIAA like it hasn't been done since my guy Richard Huntley at WSSU. Just the way that he attacks defenses. I think he had 4 touchdowns. He had 200 plus yards. He's close to 700 yards in 4 games. So both of those guys are showing out, and then they meet this week. So I think it would be a tie between those two.
Big Ben helmet sticker out of the CIAA goes to 2 players. I like how you snuck 2 in there. You're a professional. Good job there, Stephen. Drew, what about you for the SIAC?
Ooh, that's kind of tough there, Dr. Cavil, because when you look at the SIAC and some of those scores that we had, and some of the yardages and everything else that we had this past week, it's kind of tough. But I am gonna give you one before I get to my main one, and I just want to shout out the freshman running back that we have at Morehouse, who had 2 touchdowns on the day with a long of 49 yards. That would be number 25. That would be Nicholas Woodford. He had 12 carries. I believe he wound up with just shy of 100 yards on 12 carries. But, behind a freshman offensive line, so he's doing he did a tremendous job. But as far as the other helmet sticker, just pick a quarterback from one of those teams that put up 70 points or 60 points. It's really kind of hard to
That's why we on the show. We only ask the hard questions. So good job by all of you all. Let's take next break. We'll come back on the other side and unveil the top 7 mid-major HBCU Division football poll rankings for week number 4.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com. ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. with Charles Bissick, Mike Washington, Wilton Jackson II, A.D. Drew, and Stephen Nathan. But that being said, let's get into the rankings week 3. I know I said week 4. Brian was in my head, so hang it to fault him. With that being said, let's look at who dropped out last week. Winston-Salem State, 2-2, 0-1, dropping out of the poll rankings. Clark Atlanta Panthers, 2-2, also dropping out. Tuskegee Golden Tigers falling out of the top 7 last week in terms of what's going on there. Let's look at who, it should have been just Virginia State dropping out of the poll last week, I should say. Let's go into who's receiving votes for this week, which actually will be Virginia State at the top receiving votes, essentially in the 8th spot. You have Winston-Salem State also receiving some votes to get back in that top 7 at 3-2. And the Savannah State Tigers holding down, receiving votes. Let's get into the top 7 in terms of those programs now. Number 7, coming out of the independent circle, is West Virginia State. The Yellow Jackets sit at 3-1, 2-0 in the conference race. They seem to start out pretty strong, but they fall late. It'll be interesting to see, can they find a way to actually make more of a statement in their conference race this year, that Mountain East, I believe it is. Let's go to number 6 in week number 3. Number 6 in the rankings is none other than the Livingston Blue Bears. They continue to surprise a lot of people. They're 4-1, 3-0, and they raise up a spot. They jumped in the poll last week, and they stay in there and even move up a spot in the ranking. Bringing us to number 5. 5 in this week's top 7, none other than the Albany State Golden Rams. Not having played a lot of games, but they are winning where it counts. 2-1, 1-0 in the conference race, 1 first place vote even, 158 points. They do fall a spot this week, even though they won. At number 6 in the poll rankings as we continue to climb up the charts. At number 4, I should say, is none other than Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls, previously ranked in the week. They're 4-1 as they continue to be 1-1, and they continue to move forward, staying right there. At number 3 in the rankings is none other than Virginia Union Panthers, 3-1, 3 first place votes, 203 points, remain at the 3 spot. No, there was some questions in terms of the NCAA rankings by a president out there that didn't like the fact that Virginia Union was ranked higher than their institution, which I must admit, he had some good points there. A team is our number 2 team, and they happened to beat Virginia Union Panthers that was ranked higher than them. So number 2, as you would imagine, is none other than the Edward Water Tigers. Edward Water Tigers continues to play some good football. Their only loss is to an FCS major division program. They're 4-1, 3-0, 2 first place votes. And number 1 in the rankings continues to be the Benedict Tigers. They're 4-0, 3-0, 3 first place votes, 205 points. Second week in a row. Interesting to see what people think in the top 7 in general, specifically with Benedict Tigers. Did they have you feeling a little more comfortable with the number 1 spot this week? I'm going to start with Steven. Since I made him wait last, I'm going to let him be first this time.
I'm looking at this. I would say, Benedict, number 1. Don't have a problem with that. The VUU, Edward Waters is interesting. They did get the head-to-head. I get it. It's a 3-point win, though, and I do like what Virginia Union did to Johnson C. Smith. So they're gonna be mad at me down in Jacksonville, and I know they only got, but they played a little too close with Morehouse. You play close with Morehouse. I mean, it's a win, but it's darn near a loss. So I'm gonna leapfrog VUU over them. Johnson C. Smith.
Despite the head-to-head.
Yeah, despite the head-to-head. Yeah, because stick it close. I mean, look, Virginia Union, if you're a bad team, they're going to pound on you. You saw what they did to Shaw. You saw what they did to Miles. They're not going to play with their food. Sorry, Drew. The Maroon. That cat fight should not have been that close. And I probably put Albany State above Johnson C. Smith. I like Livingstone where they are. That number 7 spot is really interesting to me. It's really interesting to me. To make a case for a couple of teams, but West Virginia State, okay. Make a case for a couple of teams. After this week, it's going to get really interesting. But I
agree. I agree with that. Good stuff. Charles?
I think it gets interesting when you take a look at 3, 4, 5 because I kind of had Albany State up a little higher. I had Albany State probably in that Virginia Union slot, whereas I would probably have Albany State, Virginia Union, Johnson C. Smith.
Good stuff. Interesting. Changing it around. Wilton?
Before I get started, I just think about some, Mike and AD Drew once said, like last year we was doing about this time of the year, like you better take a screenshot of some of these teams that's in this poll because some of them might not be there. We can go back and forth all day about that 7 spot. I'm with you about that in terms of West Virginia State. Like they tend to falter off toward the end of the season, so it'll be interesting to see if they stay there. Livingstone, I'm okay with. I definitely would have had Albany State a little bit higher. I would have also put them above Johnson.
How high you have Albany State?
Albany State, I probably would have had them at 4. I would have put them 1 spot up, and then maybe drop Johnson C. Smith to 5.
Got it.
And then the Benedict being number 1, I'm cool with that. Edward Waters and Morehouse, Drew, I'm sorry, I just got to do it. Like that game was not supposed to be that close. Like it just
was it on the road?
But when you got about 120 yards and penalties, that's how you keep a team like Morehouse around.
Oh no, I agree with you. I'm just saying, and because of that, I don't know if I would have put Edward Waters at number 2. I would have flipped and put Virginia Union at number 2 and Edward Waters at number 3.
All right, let me go with you, Mike.
Man, I don't know. Did y'all leave any meat on the bone? I'm just saying.
You go look at the other refrigerator, Mike.
So, man, that refrigerator's bare too. But I will agree that Albany State should be above Johnson C. Smith. Albany, as my father-in-law would correct me and say, I think they should be heads and tails above Johnson C. Smith. I do believe in head-to-head matchup, so I'm okay with Edward Waters where they are. Look at where they are. Look at where they rank. They did beat Virginia Union head-to-head. I don't care how much they lost. Everybody deserves a bad day. I'm a proponent of head-to-head. So having said that, I'm okay with Edward Waters, then Virginia Union, but Albany State should move up above Johnson C. Smith. That West Virginia State, I agree. It'll take care of itself. Livingstone, you can make an argument that they can move up, but I don't know who I'd replace them with. So there's 2 teams here that ain't your mom and daddy's team. Livingstone and Benedict, that ain't your mom and daddy's Livingstone and Benedict. I don't know how much history you keep up, but those teams have played really well and put out a lot of offense. But those would be the only changes I'd make.
Close this segment out, Drew. I like your thoughts, Mike. Head to head, I'm not sure about the West Virginia. I mean, it is week to week. Let them have a little fun now. They'll do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Drew.
Oh man, this is interesting. While we could debate the order of this top 7, I do in general believe that these are the right 7 to have on this page. We can debate the order. A win is a win for Edward Waters, Benedict, BTA, Virginia Union, BTA, Johnson C. Smith, BTA, Albany State, BTA, Livingstone, BTA, West Virginia State, best little rest. But I do want to talk about one team that did not appear on your top 7, Dr. Cavil, nor were they in the receiving votes. And what about Kentucky State, everybody?
Yeah,
I'm surprised that I do not see the Thoroughbreds anywhere on this.
They were at 11. They just missed out.
They just
brought them up, though. They deserve to be talked about.
I mean, this is a team, that's they find ways to win, despite some of their statistics being upside down. They find a way to win. Hell, you talking about the Edward Waters game? Don't forget, Morehouse outgained Kentucky State in the matchup last week, despite what the score is. But that team finds a way to
But they
win.
still lost by 3 touchdowns, man. Like,
Who lost by 3 touchdowns?
or 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Morehouse. Yeah.
Yeah, but they like I say, I don't know what it is about this team. They just find that one little weakness and they exploit it. So this
Not
is
against Albany State.
Yeah.
But against everybody else.
They got dusted.
They got
11
Albany
is
State is a whole
be.
different class. And speaking of Albany State, let's talk about Albany State, Edward Waters, and Benedict. And I'll be quick with this. Benedict will definitely have an opportunity to earn our respect because they have both Edward Waters and Albany State on their schedule. Whereas Edward Waters and Albany State do not play heads up during the regular season. So if Benedict comes out in that 1 or 2 position in the SIC, they will have earned it. But the opportunity is there. Edward Waters and Albany State, because they don't go heads up, looks like we're going to have a 3-headed race going down the stretch in the SIAC if things continue to play out and teams stay healthy.
Let's take our last break and we'll come back on the other side, talk a little bit about the matchups, and we'll call it a night. We'll be right back after this last break.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I'm going to go down these top 7 matchups plus those receiving votes. And I'm going to ask each of you which one of those games, or if you have one outside of that, list me the top game that you have your eyes on this week and why. Let's go down the rankings in terms of the games that we have for those that were recently ranked. Week number 4 matchups. We have The Allen Yellow Jackets, 2-3, 2-0 on the season. They face the number 1 ranked Benedict Tigers that are 4-0, 3-0. Number 2 does not play this week. Number 3, though, we have the Virginia Union Panthers, 3-1, 1-0 on the road. At number 9, Winston-Salem State Rams, 3-2, 1-1. Stephen will be familiar with this matchup. It'll be interesting to see. This is the top 10. A lot of thought goes in this in terms of the CIAA race. Let's go on to our number 4 matchup, which is also in the CIAA. It's number 4, Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls, 4-1, 1-1. They're at number 8, Virginia State Trojans that are 2-2 and 0-1. 4 versus 8 in this matchup. Virginia State Trojans really need to find a way to get this win, but same way, Golden Bulls can't afford to take a loss either. So some intrigue in this matchup. We're going to turn to the SIAC when we go to number 5. That is Auburn State Golden Rams, 3-1, 2-0. They're at Lane Dragons that are 0-4, 0-2. Shouldn't be a problem for the Golden Rams, but it is, featuring number 5. Number 6, you have Livingston Blueberries, 2-1-0 at the Elizabeth City State Vikings. Intriguing matchup here, 0-4 Vikings. They have found a way to have some close games. Can they figure out, turn away? Can they get right against Blueberries, or will Blueberries say, no, we plan to be in the mix? They are at number 6 out of the CIAA. We're going to take it at independent with number 7. West Virginia State Yellow Jackets, 2-2, 0-1. West Liberty Hilltoppers are 0-5, 0-2. So you're going to have to get used to having West Virginia State in the polls at least for another week, gentlemen, because I don't think they'll have a problem with this race. I do have a top 10 matchup in terms of a mid-major, major division matchup. It is Savannah State, the Tigers at number 10. They're 2-2, 1-2. They're on the road to South Carolina State Bulldogs that are 2-3. Had a tough loss this weekend. SIAC MEAC matchup. We hadn't had our upset of the week, so at least put that in there. I'm not sure we're going to get it with this Savannah State matchup. Thought we almost had a surprise last week, but nope. Major division got it done. Let me go around and see any of those matchups stand out to you, or is it one off the radar that you said keep your eyes on? I'm going to start with you, Charles. Of those matchups, which one has you most intrigued?
Most intriguing is Johnson C. Smith at Virginia State, but has a bit of intrigue to me is Savannah State and South Carolina State. Will South Carolina State play down to Savannah State, or I should maybe let me put it this way: can Savannah State play up to South Carolina State?
Steven says no way. Wilton, where are you in terms of the matchup? Which one has you most curious?
I know we've pretty much kind of given, this hype around Benedict and where they are from last week and even coming in at number 1, but I'm interested to see what that Benedict and Allen game will be like.
Okay.
Allen, you're talking about a team that's 2-1 in conference play right now. With Benedict being the team that they're coming to be. And I mean, again, Darius Ocean gets a test against Allen. So I'm interested to see what that game will look like. I think Benedict wins the game, but I got my eye on that one too.
All right. Mike, where are you going with your mid-major matchup of the week?
I'm with the Johnson C. Smith matchup again. The 4-8 matchup. But believe it or not, even though Morehouse is over, I'm curious to see how Morehouse, which is basically, they're fighting, they're really fighting hard. And Tuskegee goes to, I think, what is that game in Montgomery or wherever? I don't know where the game is.
It's the 90th Morehouse Tuskegee Classic.
Nice.
Right. That point. So I'm wondering how much fight there'll be in Morehouse and Tuskegee, coming off the game they just had. I'm wondering how what kind of game they'll bring. I think that'll be a little bit more of a game. I don't know. So I'm just curious to see how that game will play out. I think I know who will win, but I'm just curious to see how that game will play out besides the Johnson C. Smith game.
I can see why you're curious. I know the Tuskegee fans, they cannot stomach a loss to Morehouse right now. It's not going to be good. He's got to find out. He's got to find out. Yeah.
We talk about the ledge and majors.
Yeah, you're right.
Wonder, Tuskegee, I wonder if they fans, if they're not already on the ledge,
Charles will put him on the ledge in a minute. Let him he's gonna be like, go on over there. Don't go back using that Mississippi talk down south. Go on over there.
Go on over yonder. Go on over yonder.
You know where to go.
Walk
Drew,
what
matchup has on your mind?
I mean, I'm gonna take the Captain Obvious one. Obviously, Tuskegee Morehouse because of the history, the 90th Morehouse Tuskegee Classic in Crampton Bowl, which is a pseudo home game for Tuskegee.
Pseudo.
I mean, it's a neutral site venue, but they play there 3 times a year. But you know, they still call it neutral site. So we
That's
gonna.
why he said pseudo. He's like, you know, it's
yeah. I mean, seriously, they play in the city of Montgomery 3 times this year, 2 times at Crampton Bowl and the Turkey Day Classic over at Alabama State. Just want to throw that out there. So, yeah, and it's Morehouse's home game. Just want to put that on the record. It is Morehouse's home game, which means I have duties for this game. But anyway, actually, it's too early to say separation Saturday in the CIAA right now, but I would say this is prove it to me Saturday in the CIAA with a bunch of big time sexy matchups in the CIAA where teams will either solidify their place where they're at the top of the CIAA and going to be a contender to get to the CIAA championship game, or we're going to muddy the water and have a bunch of parity in the CIAA. This is what I call prove it to me Saturday in the CIAA.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta piggyback off Drew's last point. It definitely is that. I mean, I think if you look at it, we got the matchups of the top teams, the teams that were predicted to be in the top 6 at the start of the season. And right now, they're kind of bunched up because of the way things have gone. So, you got Johnson C. Smith at Bowie State. You got Fayetteville State at Bowie State. Bowie's not what they used to be, but, still tough to beat at home. They're a really good defensive team. Fayetteville State, they've shown an offense over the last couple of weeks. So, we'll see, but that could be a slobberknocker of a game. You've got Virginia State and Johnson C. Smith. Last year Smith was able to beat all 3 of the other teams in the conference in terms of Virginia State, Virginia Union, and Winston-Salem. But they had Virginia State and Virginia Union at home, and both of those were close games. So now they have to go up to Petersburg. Ettrick. They have to go to Ettrick, and they're facing a Virginia State team barely escaped at Winston-Salem State, and then they went to Fayetteville and got pounded on. So we'll see. What Dr. Henry Frazier and his guys can do to bounce back, and because if they don't lose this game, they're probably not losing the game again until whoever wins between them and Virginia Union. The rest of the CIAA North CIAA North is just not that good. And then, you got a game I know a little bit about. I'll be there. Winston-Salem State, Virginia Union.
Just a little.
It's gonna be a game. I have done a lot of research, and I got a video coming out soon about, like I did with the Hampton and A&T situation, about the rivalries that people don't necessarily think about, but they have been competitive. And Virginia Union and Winston-Salem State is one of those. They played for championships a lot of years, a lot of Hall of Fame coaches between the two, NFL players and things like that. Virginia Union's obviously risen to the class of the CIAA. So for the Rams, just put up a shut up time. Every week as a Ram fan, they give us anxiety. They went up 14-0 against Bowie State. You're thinking, okay, let's cruise this one out, and they had us clutching our seats until the last play. Bowie State just had some of the worst drive management you could ask for. Now they get Virginia Union, and it's going to be the 2 best offensive players in the CIAA. But it's going to be really if Winston-Salem State can run the ball, control the clock, keep Curtis Allen off the field, and otherwise Dalen Lee might have to throw for 500 yards. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but there's a lot riding here. And I know last week we had Jackson State and Southern, another one that's not a state rivalry, but it's very close and very intense. This was actually the closeness as far as the competitiveness is right there as well. So I'm hoping the CIAA does a better job of saying it. I love Dr. Parker. I think he kind of sold this one short a little bit. So I'm gonna take that and give that as a chip on everybody's shoulder. Try to play up these CIAA rivalries that we do have. So it's all gas, no brakes when the Union comes to Winston-Salem State.
Yeah,
that's right. Let the TC folks how to market some games.
It's just like, I'm not going to say it's any worse or any more. No, it's WSSU. Everybody in the CIAA wants to be WSSU, whether we're good or bad. It just is what it is. So, it is what it is. So we'll go.
Damn right, Steve. Yeah.
That's right. Tell them. And before I say this, Wilton, how are you still the main feature? You the man. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, come from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Thank you, Stephen Gaither. With that being said, make sure you go check out those articles that we talked about. He has articles discussing about those classes, giving you some details. Go check both of those out. Good information there. Drew?
I was going to say also, Band of the Year information. Make sure you tune into HBCU Game Day and Stevens article to keep up on the Red Lobster Band of the Year contest.
Yeah, especially for those adjudications. I believe that right there. Shout out to Wilton Jackson II. Yeah, AD Drew. Mike, you don't need to talk about adjudication. I've seen what you did. Never mind. We got problems with that. There's no more police organizations. You did your own fair share of adjudication, I will say. Stephen J. Gates, appreciate you coming on, showing us love. Make sure you go check out HBCU Game Day. They do a hell of a lot of work in terms of what they do, along with Wilton Jackson, between the writing that they do, between the podcast that Stephen does that gives specific insights on HBCU Division II, mid-major divisions. We like to talk. Wilton Jackson is putting in all types of work. Charles Bishop calling games. Big Mike making sure we understand the business. And check us out on Game Time, SWAC TV, Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. Roy will be delivering that as the host. We'll come in with our information and updates. Continue to check that out. Go watch your HBCU games, whether it's live or on your social media platform TV. And if you're there, look at them also on your social media platforms anyway. Make sure you get those algorithms working on all different components of supporting your HBCU programs. With that being said, again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday right here at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sunday at 9 a.m. we unveil the major division poll rankings. Follow me, Dr. Cavil, on Twitter, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattacavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Wilton. Stephen. Drew?
Dismiss.
Leave the honeybees alone.
I gave you all this love the rest of the show. You F squared. You get an F squared in your life.